Raise your hand if you think I wish I had a pension, because for most of us, traditional company pensions are a thing of the past. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through 6 ways that you can build your own pension-like income in retirement time. And I'm talking about actual, predictable, reliable income that shows up each and every month in your retirement. It's like, in the good old days, what we called mailbox money. Just like a traditional pension plan, without having to rely solely on Social Security or hoping that the stock market continues to cooperate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the 6 categories that can create guaranteed and or predictable income in retirement. So if you're worried about running out of money, you're not sure if your IRA or your 401k will be enough for you, you want to add a little bit more certainty on where your retirement income is going to go. This segment's really for you. So number 1, the problem with the hope and pray retirement plan. And, here's a situation that many retirees find themselves in. You've got Social Security, great. That's going to maybe cover 30, 40, 50% of your expenses if you're lucky. Then you've got an IRA or a 401k. And, if you look at most of the media sources that are out there, they kind of tell you the same thing. Just withdraw 4% a year and then hope that it lasts. Hope. That's a strategy. Hope the market doesn't crash the year that you retire. Hope that you don't live too long. Hope that inflation doesn't eat away at you. And look, I'm not against the stock and bond market. In fact, I think that should be a big part of your overall portfolio. In fact, look at our philosophy in the independent income system. But by building your entire retirement plan on market performance, that's not a plan, that's a gamble. And the truth is, the people who sleep best at night are people that have guaranteed and predictable income. Money they know is coming in no matter what the Dow Jones Industrial Average does next Tuesday. Think about it. Your parents, your grandparents with pensions didn't check their account balances every single morning. They didn't panic during market crisis. They just lived. Why? Because they knew the check was coming next month. And you can do that too. And if we go through that, strategy number 1, let's just get this one out there, is annuities. Now, that's kind of the elephant in the room, right? Annuities, you maybe have a preconceived notion of what annuities are. And I know that you're thinking you've heard horror stories, high fees, confusing contracts, salespeople who just won't leave you alone. And yeah, some of that is true. But here's also what's true. Annuities are one of the closest things that you can get to having a private type pension. And when used correctly, they can be incredibly powerful. And right now, when you look at annuities, they're tied to interest rates. The higher the interest rate, typically the higher the income payment is. And so we have interest rates that are the highest they've been. For the most part, I know they've come down here recently, but generally they're about the highest they've been since, my children have been born. So if you break them down, the one thing that you could have is there's different types. Number 1, you have immediate annuities. And that's where you hand the insurance a lump sum of money, and they in turn will have and provide you a paycheck for the rest of your lifetime. It's simple, it's predictable, it just starts right away. That's really best for people that, want money now and they're not worried about leaving money to heirs. The second one that you could have is a deferred annuity. It's the same idea, but the income starts later. Maybe you defer it for 5, 10, maybe till you're 75. You're essentially buying longevity insurance. So if you live a long time, that would pay off. And it's best really for people that are worried about outliving your income. Next, you could have a fixed indexed annuity, and what that does is that provides principal protection plus growth that's tied to an underlying market index. A lot of the contracts allow you to add an income rider on, typically for a cost, but what that can do is that can guarantee some type of lifetime withdrawal benefits. So these are really typically best for people who want some growth potential. They don't want to give up the lump sum of the money that they have, and they don't want to worry about losing money if the market goes down. So variable annuities come out with living benefit riders. And I would first and foremost say a lot of the times when I hear some of the negative news about annuities, it's typically because of variable annuities. And I would use these in a very select situation because what happens here is those are the contracts that typically do have some of the higher fees. In exchange for that, what you typically do is you get some market type performance and you have some type of guaranteed minimum income benefit if you have that rider on your contract, no matter what happens to the investment. Again, the bottom line here is annuities aren't perfect and the guarantees are based upon the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. But if you strip away the sales pitch and you look at the simple math, they can provide something that the stock market can't. And that's a guaranteed paycheck for life. Just make sure you work with somebody who explains every detail to you before you sign anything. Strategy number 2 is looking at laddered CDs and bonds. If annuities are too complicated and you just don't trust insurance companies, a simpler solution is bonds and CD ladders. Typically how it works, instead of putting all of your money in one bond or CD, you stagger them out over different maturities. You could do 1, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, and so on. Because every year one of them then matures. You get that money back if it's in an FDIC insured CD, and or you can either spend it or reinvest it at whatever the current rates are. If you're buying a bond ladder, you're buying treasury bonds, you can buy corporate bonds, municipal bonds. Those have different maturity dates, but you're getting regular interest payments, and you're not locked into one interest rate forever. Bonds have risk of default, so you also want to understand the credit rating of the company that you're considering. With that CD ladder, you could do the same thing. Spread it out over the different time frames. The advantage of the CD ladder is you're getting that FDIC insurance. So your principal is protected up to $250,000 per account. The returns can be, the negative would be maybe lower than what the stock market is. But again, remember here, you're not trying to get rich. You're trying to build reliable income, have it as a base as part of your money. Use your stock market account for the fun stuff in retirement time. If you want to sleep well at night, know the exact amount of money that's coming in, and using a ladder can do that. Number 3 is looking at Treasury securities. U.S. Treasury securities are backed by the full faith and pledge of the United States government. Translation, unless the government fails, you're getting paid. You can look at Treasury bonds. There's Treasury notes. You can utilize Treasury inflation-protected securities. And there's even Series I savings bonds. So if you listen to the show in the past, you know that we've talked a lot about the government I bonds. Those are, attached to more of an inflation rate. So right now, with inflation concerns, I bonds have become very popular in the last couple of years. Strategy number 4 is looking at building a dividend part of a portfolio. So this strategy technically is not guaranteed, but it can be more reliable if done right. That's dividend-paying stock portfolios. So instead of relying upon selling your stocks to get you your income, you invest in companies that pay dividends every quarter. A good example of that is a group of stocks called the Dividend Aristocrats. These are companies that have increased their dividends for 25 plus years. So if you live off of that dividend income, that can be more reliable. Companies do have the right to change their dividend payments, but they tend to be more predictable when you have that income coming in. There's other things that you do, like a covered call is a little bit more of an advanced strategy, but it's a way to generate extra income on a portfolio. So those can be, good ideas for retirees that want income. Maybe they want the potential for a little bit more growth than some of the other solutions that are out there. And the last 5 and 6 strategies that I would share with you are what are called structured notes, and also using like cash value life insurance. So, rounding out those 2 lesser known strategies, a structured note is a custom investment that can offer a fixed or minimum return based upon specific conditions. For example, you get a 5% yield as long as the S&P doesn't drop below a certain level. You could have credit risk, so make sure, again, you understand the credit of the company that you're working with. They tend to be a little bit more complex, so they're not necessarily for beginners. But again, for sophisticated investors, for investors that have built up a nice-sized portfolio, can be a great way to generate additional income. And the last category is utilizing that permanent life insurance with cash value. So I know, stay with me. I know, I'm talking life insurance. Sounds weird for retirement. I get it. But policies like whole life, policies like universal life, they can build up cash value over time. You have the potential to take tax-free loans against the cash value to supplement your retirement income. Some policies even have guaranteed minimum withdrawal benefits. The thing is with life insurance, you have to understand the cost of insurance associated with it. And some of the policies can be expensive, so you want to take cost into consideration. Also, the other catch, so to say, is they might take quite a few years to build up a meaningful cash value, but if set up correctly, they can provide tax-free income later on in life. Where these could be best for is some of the higher income earners that are out there. I might be a good example of this. I max out my 401k. My wife maxes out our 401k. We are saving additional dollars to grow more money for the future, and I'm doing that in a permanent life insurance policy. To me, the advantage that I have is, heaven forbid something happens to me while I'm young, my wife is still taken care of. It is a life insurance policy. My life insurance policy has some additional benefits. If I get hurt, sick, have a critical chronic illness, or some type of terminal illness with it as well. But then if I live to retirement time, which obviously is the goal, I can use some of the withdrawals from that to provide, tax-free income potential in the future as well. So let's bring this all together. If you want to have more predictable income and you're not blessed with a pension, I'm not either, there are other ways to get either guaranteed or more predictable income. Annuities, laddered CDs, bonds, treasury securities, dividend-paying portfolios, structured notes, life insurance cash value. The key is you don't have to pick one. But if you're looking for more predictable income and you want to know about how to build out the combination of this, this is exactly what we can put together for you. Again, in our process, it's called the independent income system. It's really like building your own retirement income plan in retirement and not just relying upon the luck of the stock market or the hope that the stock market works out. It's really kind of putting it all together, putting a piece of it together and figuring out, how much do you need to have in reliable income. If there's a gap, figuring out how to fill that gap up with reliable income. We can do that. We can put together that retirement team action plan and show you exactly how to build that out in your own situation.